Come, my tan-faced children, follow well in order. Get your weapons ready. Have you your pistols? Have you your sharp-edged axes, pioneers, O pioneers? For we cannot tarry here. We must march, my darlings. We must bear the brunt of danger. We, the youthful, sinewy races, all the rest on us depend. Pioneers, O pioneers. O you youths, Western youths, so impatient, full of action, full of manly pride and friendship. Plain I see you, Western youths, see you tramping with the foremost. Pioneers, O pioneers. We detachments steady throwing, down the edges, through the passes, up the mountains steep, conquering, holding, daring, venturing as we go unknown ways. Pioneers, O pioneers. We primeval forests felling, we the rivers stemming, vexing we, and piercing deep the mines within. We the surface broad surveying, we the virgin soil upheaving. Pioneers, O pioneers. This is a poem by Walt Whitman that I first heard when I was in high school in a Levi's commercial. In this commercial, there was this rough, gruff old manly American voice over the top of, these wild and free American youths who were denim clad and running through waterfalls and fields of flowers. It was so empowering and amazing. And I fell in love with the poem. I looked it up and read the whole thing and thought it was so cool. The story of these brave pioneers. It was the story of Western expansion and the American West. And it's the story of my family and the people that I come from. My ancestors on both sides of my family have been in North America since the mid to late 1600s. And then moved west and homesteaded in northern Colorado and Wyoming in the mid to late 1800s. So they were the people, they were the pioneers who were establishing mining claims and building the railroads that were taking people west. And they were, upheaving virgin soil for farming and ranching. They were fulfilling this manifest destiny that Walt Whitman describes, and that is really idealized when we think about the history of the American West. Just before I was born, my parents moved to a small town in Montana that the community is built around kind of this same narrative, this Western ideal. It was originally a coal mining town with farming and ranching as the supporting industries of the area. The culture of my family and the community that I grew up in is centered around these Western values that are kind of exemplified in this poem of, really hard work and working closely with the land and reaping the benefits of working closely with the land through, agriculture or resource extraction. For a long time, I idealized and admired the toughness of the people in my community and their drive to conquer the wilderness of the American West. And I applied that attitude to my own passions, which were mostly backpacking or skiing or kayaking. I had this idea of myself as I had conquered a mountain when I had made it to the top. But over time, I kind of came to realize that maybe I wasn't really trying to conquer it. That wasn't really the feeling that I wanted to have associated with my passions associated with the outdoors. I majored in environmental studies for my undergraduate degree, and while I was in this program, through conversations that I had and things I was learning, I kind of came to face this fact that there are two very different sides to the story of my family history. My crusty, dusty, great Uncle Steve was this bold and adventurous, prospector in the Colorado mountains, which is a very cool story. He's the first guy to make it over some pass. But he also probably caused a lot of destruction. He probably polluted waterways with mercury and other heavy metals, My great-great-grandma Ethel was one of the first white women in Wyoming, but her family moving there for agriculture, really, they plowed under a lot of native prairie and changed the landscape with the animals that they grazed. They were admirable for their drive to move to this remote place and make it a place where they could thrive. But at the same time, they brought with them this culture that didn't understand how the landscape worked and caused a lot of degradation over time. And so at some point in college, I refound this Pioneers, Oh Pioneers poem by Walt Whitman. And when I read it, instead of feeling this, welling sense of pride of my family history, I felt a little bit of shame for the sense of entitlement that was proclaimed in this poem and that the people at that time had for moving west and, making it their own. So as I was kind of mulling over these new thoughts relating to Walt Whitman's poem, I thought back to a conversation that I had in an environmental ethics class in my freshman year as an undergrad, in which we were talking about the two different creation stories that exist in the book of Genesis in the Bible. The first, it portrays man, or people, humankind, as God created the earth so that people could use it. The earth is for people to use, and it's for people taking from it because we are the chosen people by God. The other narrative is that God created people to be a steward of the earth and to take care of the things that he or she or whatever it is created. So the spirit of westward expansion and the taming of the Rocky Mountain Rest was really fueled by that first biblical narrative. And don't get me wrong, I think that there are a lot of I still think that there are great things about that pioneering spirit. It really takes grit and ambition to accomplish anything that you're passionate about. But realizing the destruction that has been caused by that first narrative, I have started thinking that it would be great to bring that same pioneering energy and spirit to the second narrative of being a steward of the land.